Now, this 24-year-old texted his friends a $5 billion idea, but he didn't know it at the time. In fact, Wade Foster then turned that idea into cold, hard cash in 2011 when he launched Zapier with his two co-founders. Now, Zapier helps you connect different apps together and build automated workflows. It took them a bit, but they hit $50 million in revenue in 2019 before breaking $150 million in 2021, all bootstrapped. I mean, imagine owning 100% of a $150 million revenue stream. Now, how did Wade do this? How did he win so big? Well, he keeps his customers. Less than 5% churn every month. Number two, he keeps great people around him. 8 out of his 10 original team still work at the company today. And lastly, he increases what customers pay him every month by adding new features. Today, they pay $40 per month, but that's all going up over time. Now, if you guys are in your 20s and you want to build a multi-billion-dollar company like Wade, you cannot miss this interview. Let's jump in. Hey folks, if we haven't met yet, my name is Nathan Latka. I launched and sold my first software company back in 2015 and went on to write a book about it, which you guys made a Wall Street Journal bestseller, purchasing over 30,000 copies. Thank you so much for that. After the book, I launched this show and went on to create founderpath.com. I raised a large fund to do non-dilutive deals with B2B software founders. So far, we've invested in over 400 software founders, totaling $150 million. Here in 2024, we're doing 3 to 4 new deals per week. So if you're looking for capital and don't want to give up equity, go sign up at founderpath.com for free to get your offer. All right, let's jump into the interview. Hello, everyone. My guest today is Wade Foster. He's the CEO and co-founder of Zapier, a workflow automation tool used by over 3 million people to connect the work apps they use every day. Before the company, Wade worked as a customer development lead for the Idea Works Inc. in Missouri. He's an alumni of Y Combinator and has degrees in industrial engineering and business administration from the University of Missouri, Columbia. Wade, are you ready to take us to the top?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, man. So I think a lot of people listening to the show have probably heard of you for some, or the company for some reason or another. But for those who have not heard of the company, quickly, what do you guys do and how do you make money?
Sure. Zapier helps people be more productive at work by helping them connect all the business tools that they use. So if you use things like Slack or Gmail or Dropbox or MailChimp or QuickBooks or Salesforce or any number of 1,400 apps you might be using in your work, we help you build automations and connect them easily. And it's a freemium service, so you can get started for free. And then we have monthly subscriptions. So that is roughly how we make money.
That's great. I want to talk more about, you announced recently you passed the $35 million run rate. I also know last time you were on, you were really effectively executing a strategy related to launching additional landing pages, 25,000 or so. So I want to talk more about kind of the growth strategy ideas, blossoming in Wade's head for 2019 and hopefully have a good show. Let's start obviously with the revenue number. So you did announce, I believe you passed about $35 million in AR. That was in September of 2018.
We passed 50 million.
It's 50.
2018. Yeah.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
So 50 million. And help me understand, most of that revenue, are you starting to see more enterprise level accounts coming in, or this is still kind of low touch, low ARPU, or, kind of model?
We still have very much a product driven sale. We drive folks to the product, they sign up, and then they upgrade with their credit card. We accept credit cards. PayPal primarily is the mode of payment. We do have customers across the Fortune 500 broadly. So we have lots of enterprise usage, but it's very much a bottoms up product-driven sale.
Do you see, because of that, do you see, most people see churn where people are canceling because it's, it's too expensive. And so they're churning and finding kind of cheaper alternatives. Many people could argue you're actually at the base of a lot of these other companies. Then you look at enterprise levels like, SnapLogic, MuleSoft, et cetera. Do you see actually people churning you once they hit a very aggressive amount of usage?
Not really. I think most of that's because, once you get started with Zapier, it's so simple, easy to use. The product scales really well with you too. Like we have a lot of robust error catching. We have a lot of sophisticated features that helps folks scale their usage as well. So we see folks go pretty far with us. And very rarely, I can't even think of a time when someone said, I'm stopping using Zapier. I'm going to go start using something like a MuleSoft.
This might, let me give a better example. Do you ever hear conversations like this? Wade, I love you guys. I'm using you for like 10,000 zaps a month, but I need X, Y, and Z built. Can your engineering team do this? And you might go, not on the roadmap. We recommend you go use X enterprise, competitor. Do those come
You
up?
know, that comes up all the time. Of course, customers always have feature requests that they're looking for more sophistication. I think every software company runs into this. And a lot of times, it ends up being like, yeah, I think you probably need to go hire an engineer to build this on your own. You probably need to start using tools like AWS to like set this up on your own. But most of our customers aren't like that. Most of our customers aren't engineers that are building their own things. They're looking for something that they can do it with off the shelf.
Yep. ARPU is still about $20 on average.
Yeah, we've raised it quite a bit. So we're doing a little better than that, but in the ballpark.
Okay. Was that intentional or kind of accidental raise?
I think as you start to get more, as you age, as companies tend to age, ARPU tends to go up if you have a good mechanism where people start to use the product more. So those older cohorts start to use the product more, get more value out of it. They upgrade to bigger plans, and they start to pull your ARPU up just as a business as a whole. Mm-hmm. So that's usually how that happens for companies, and certainly Zapier is no different.
Back in October 2017, when you were last on the show, you articulated you passed about 60,000 customers on the platform. Where are you today?
We have over 100,000 paying customers today.
That's okay. That's great. And you said one of the big drivers, and I don't know if this was in the moment thing back in October 2017, but you cited specifically the Airtable partnership as driving a lot of new folks into your platform. Does that continue to perform well? And what other partnerships are performing for you?
Airtable definitely has been like a standout new application. I think we release our fastest growing apps list every year. This past year, we were seeing companies like Front, Discord, which is kind of like a Slack for like gaming community primarily. Really popular. Squarespace opened up their ecosystem quite a bit, and so we have an integration with them now. Those have all been important new apps that have been added to Zapier in recent history and have performed quite well. I think a lot of folks use those tools, and so naturally they need to connect those to other things that they're using.
Yep, and 100,000 north of 100,000 customers and $50 million in AR. I mean, that would put your kind of ARPU more at like $40 or $50 a month versus 20. I mean, you said slightly mm-hmm. more, but that's like doubling. Is that accurate?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. I mean, you're not giving yourself enough credit here, right? You're a humble guy, but I mean, that's like doubling ARPU is a big deal over just 18 months. Okay, interesting. And walk me through any other kind of growth levers that kind of surprised you last year. You talked a lot about your landing page strategy and your partnership strategy in the last show, so we won't go deep into those, but any other growth tactics you're trying?
The thing that's most important for us is we want to have ubiquity in the apps that people use. And so we spend so much of our time focusing on how can we make sure that we have coverage across all these different apps that people are using at work. As new apps are launched, as new products from existing companies are launched, we really just focus on trying to have that ubiquity, because when we support the things that people use, then Zapier becomes useful for them. If we don't support the tools that they use, then Zapier is not useful for them. And so I think that's a big piece of it. Of course, we've also invested a lot in an area that perhaps surprised me. We've invested a lot in our internal apps. So this is kind of a thing that once users don't come to Zapier for these things, but they stick around for them, which are things like our filters, our formatter, our code steps, our delay steps, our scheduler, our email parser. They're these little utilities. You could almost think of them as like a modern Excel macro.
Yeah, it's like a VBA kind of macro kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah, but they're easier to use. They're more accessible. And they help folks kind of extend what they're trying to do with a lot of these applications, because sometimes, APIs can sometimes be messy. We're under the hood, we're using APIs. And so the end user needs a way to kind of configure a little bit. It's like, well, I have a first name and a last name here, but I really just want the first name. And so our formatter can help you say, well, I just want split at the space and just give me the first name. So these little utility functions help people just get more out of these tools that they're looking for in a way that's pretty accessible to kind of your average worker.
What do you look for in terms of signals for new up and coming apps that you see are doing well but are not on your platform yet? I'm sure you have a very sophisticated approach to kind of trying to find these signals and acting on them as quick as possible.
I think it's not too different than perhaps like a VC might approach things. You're trying to pay attention to, are they hiring more people? Is there traffic going up? You can look at like Alexa rankings and stuff like that. Did they raise some money? Obviously, that's not always a signal, but you're just trying to piece together all these like little public bits of information to figure out like, hey, is there someone that we should be talking to that we're not talking to? So it does look very similar to, I think, like what VCs would do when they're on the hunt for, trying to invest in a company that's growing.
Wait, I'm a bit shocked. I never thought I'd hear you compare yourself to a VC when you're so contrarian on the whole VC and funding model. Let's go into that branch of the business now. So sure. You've raised very little capital, less than $1 million, correct?
Yeah, right at $1 million. Yeah.
Are those folks still on the cap table, or have you kind of done the whole Wistia approach and bought those guys out?
No, they're still on the cap table.
Okay, you sound kind of happy, and you're happy with status quo there.
Yeah, of course. I think our investors are solid. We went through YC, a big stakeholder for us, one of the larger stakeholders for us, and they continue to just provide a lot of useful value, even at the stage that we're at. While I think there's a lot of bad actors in venture, I do think there are very good folks out there as well that can truly live up to that value add pitch that you hear so often.
And what's team size today? How many folks?
We're right at about 200 people.
200 folks. And what's the breakdown on that when you look at kind of onboarding, marketing, sales, support, engineering?
About a third is in engineering. About another third is in customer support services, onboarding, things like that, customer enablement. And the rest is kind of like marketing partnerships probably makes up a big chunk of the rest, product design, HR, finance, that sort of stuff.
And all remote or all in San Fran?
We're 100% remote. Still no office.
That's great. That's good. Save on your expenses, right?
Yeah, I mean, a little. Not as much as you might think. The big benefit you get at a remote is you have access to a global talent pool. So you can hire anywhere, and then your retention rates, especially if you invest in your culture, you invest in your values, you invest in the type of company you are, the retention rates are really high. Of our first 10 employees, 8 are still here.
And you were founded back in 2011, right?
Yeah, 2011. Mm-hmm.
What do you do? So a lot of people, when they say, I want to go remote for all the reasons Wade just described, but Nathan, like, I'm a micromanager and I don't know what my team's doing at every moment of the day and I can't look over their shoulder. I mean, how do you basically just tell your team, listen, we don't care where you work or when you work, but here are the objectives for this month. And as long as we make progress, we're good to go. Is that kind of how it sounds like?
Yeah, more or less. I think the whole, the thing that, so the folks that are like, I'm a micromanager, I can't see people sitting down, I actually think they might enjoy a remote environment even more so, especially if they're good communicators. Because in a remote environment, it's less about, did the person show up and smile this morning or
say hello at the water fountain?
Yeah, totally. Sorry about this. I gotta.
You okay?
Something just went crazy.
What, like noise or?
Yeah, like a bunch of music just started playing.
You're not sure where it's coming from? Well, here's the big question. What kind of music is it?
A bunch of country music just started playing. Sorry about that, folks. I think my wife had my headphones hooked up to something in the other room. Just went crazy.
That's funny. Well, look, I'm a country music fan. A little bit of Garth Brooks never hurt anybody, so that's good.
If it's country music, it had to have been my wife. So anyway, sorry about that. So
that's okay.
So we're saying, the micromanagers, remote, managing those teams. I think the most important piece there is that when you're in a remote environment, a big part of what you're trying to do is ask people, set the objectives, and then set the deliverables. And so if you pay attention to what those deliverables are, you can see, are they doing the work in the time frame which I expected? So if you think about customer service, it's, are they replying to customers? You can go look into your ticketing software and track the numbers and see, like, hey, are they actually performing at the level that I think is representative of what we should be performing at? For an engineer, you go look at their commit messages, look at the code. Is the contributions there what I expected? For product managers, Do they have stories and specs written out? And do they understand the users really well? And those logged in your project management software. So like in a remote environment, there's these little artifacts that are existing in all these different tools that you're using to help you see, are things getting done? And if you don't see those things, you ask a question. You say, hey, what's going on? I thought we'd agreed that this would happen. And if you don't see it, it poses a question. Doesn't mean necessarily like something's going wrong, but to ask a question about it. So I actually think that when you're in a remote environment, it kind of strips away all the like ornaments of being in an office, where you kind of kid yourself that you're doing a good job at management, where you're like, oh, I see them sitting there. I smiled at them. I gave a compliment over lunch. Like, all's good.
Yeah.
It makes you feel good, but like, are you really, truly measuring the progress of what's happening in your company or not? I'd argue probably not.
Wade, let's shift from employee retention to customer retention. Last time you were on the show, you said less than 5% logo churn per month. Are you still sub 5%?
Yeah, that's right. More or less. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Okay. And you guys, I'm a customer, by the way. So I've been able to reverse engineer a little bit of the lifecycle emails. You guys have gotten more aggressive on, I believe, on the lifecycle emails, like, hey, this Zap stopped working. You should log in and like check it out, or something might be wrong here. What are you doing to keep churn low?
I think a lot of it is things like that. One of the things that is so powerful about a tool like Zapier is that we can help you with so many different types of problems that you might be experiencing in your business across different types of spaces. So we can help you with marketing, we can help you with sales, we can help you with customer support, we can help you with engineering, we can help you with operations. We can help you in a lot of different ways. But because we can help you in a lot of different ways, it's sometimes hard when you come into Zapier to go like, well, what should I use this for? And so those lifecycle emails, if we do a good job, we get to know what you are using Zapier for, and we're able to propose better recommendations for you. We're better able to serve up content that might resonate with you. Now, I don't think we're doing at this. I think there's a lot more we can do to improve on this over time, but that's definitely a thing that we've invested in, and I think it helps with longer term retention. Is if we're introducing you to, if we're just helping you solve more problems over time, you're happy to keep using us.
And then Wade, shifting back to you, right? People might look at it, kind of Zapier as a company and go, okay, there's 3 founders, there's 200 people on the team, they're all remote. They're not beholden to anyone. They raised very little money relative to their ARR. Everything's working for them. A guy like Wade is only going to keep doing this if he sees opportunities to like learn new things fast and go after big new challenges. If they don't see what you're going after, they might go, something fishy's going on here. Why is he still in this? So the question to you is like, what are you learning every day? Or what are you looking forward to learning over the next 12 months?
I think the thing that is constantly fun for me is the opportunity we have to serve our customers at scale. Like we've seen so many folks come into Zapier and say what kind of impact it's had on them from a work perspective, but also from a personal standpoint. We've had people tweet pictures of them and their family at Disney World saying like, thanks Zapier. I get more moments like this because of you. And those kind of moments like are fuel. It's just like, wow, how can we create more of that? And the excitement part of me is I want more of that. But then the learning aspect is, okay, we're at 200 people. Okay, well, what do we got to do? 200 people, 100,000 customers. Well, what do we got to do to get to 200,000 customers? What do we got to do to get to 2 million customers? Because all those customers represent someone with their family, their kid at Disney World who's happy about Zapier existing. And along the way, there's all sorts of challenges that you're dealing with. And the challenges change in scope and size. Also, the people you get to work with change over time as well. The different skill sets that you want to bring into your org change as well. And so that all that stuff just kind of keeps things fresh, and it keeps you energized to keep trying to create more moments like that for your customers. If I could meet, a customer every day, in fact, if I could meet a customer of every hour of every day, like I would do it, because it's just so energizing to hear the success that we're able to bring for them.
Wade, you said your wife was in the other room playing country music. What's her name?
My wife is Chelsea.
If you came back tomorrow and said, Chelsea, just want to let you know, me and the boys and the team, we had all team on hands deck. We turned down $1 billion offer to go ahead and sell to Salesforce yesterday. Does she kill you?
So my wife has started to use Zapier herself. She's a consultant for small businesses.
It's an important customer to have, by the way.
Yeah, she used to be a teacher, and when we started Zapier, she's a teacher, and I was like, well, she probably never will understand quite what we do. She'll get it, the concept. She'll get the elevator pitch, but she won't ever be a user. But now I hear in the other room coaching her clients on how to use Zapier, teaching them how to use Gmail, teaching them how to use Asana and all these different tools together. So she hears we're selling. She's probably like, what am I going to do for my own customers, Wade? Mm-hmm. She's like, are you guys is Zapier going to keep existing? So I'm sure she would be a little on the fence if that came through.
Yeah. Well, the reason I'm asking is, there are so many people right now going after just companies where there's data being exposed to some degree. And I'm sure you guys have an amazing engineering team and everything's locked down. But for example, YC's an investor. If they're able to see some of your back end and see which apps are actually taking off in terms of how many zaps per month, that allows them to make better investment decisions. And maybe there's soft information being shared there, even if it's just you mentioning, hey, we're about to release our top app list. Here it is to you before everyone else gets it. There's stuff like that. Do you worry about kind of data and specifically kind of governments going after companies that deal in these pipeline kind of businesses?
I don't worry about that too much. Nah, it's not something that we think, is a concern from us for a competitive threat or from, market risk. I think for us, our goal at the end of the day is let's solve our customers' need. And if we keep chasing after our own customers and keep trying to meet their needs, we'll always be in a good position. The world is too short on companies that care deeply about solving for the customer's problems, that if we can be one of the few that does that well, we'll be fine.
All right, Wade, on that note, let's wrap up with the famous 5. Number 1, what's your favorite business book?
Ooh, what's my favorite? Let's see. I'll share one I read recently. I don't know if it's underrated book about a manufacturing facility in Springfield, Missouri that practices open book management. So they share all their accounting statements with the whole company, and they allow their employees, these are factory workers, to help make critical investment decisions because they've taught them how all to use the accounting.
Wade, what was the name of the book?
It's The Great Game of Business is what it's called.
The Great Game of Business. Interesting.
Yeah.
All right. Number 2, is there a CEO you're following or studying right now?
Let's see. I think Jeff Bezos and Patrick Collison are 2 of the better modern CEOs out there that I like to listen and read anything that they put out.
And number 3, are you built on top of Stripe, by the way?
We do use Stripe. Mm-hmm.
Very good. What's your personal favorite online tool for building the company?
Let's see. We use Slack and Zoom are still super critical parts of operating a distributed team for us.
Yep. Number 4, how many hours of sleep do you get every night?
8 hours.
That's great. And obviously married. Chelsea, any kiddos yet or no?
No kids.
No
we
kid.
got a dog though.
All right. And how old are you, Wade?
I'm 32.
32. Last question. What do you wish your 20-year-old self knew?
Oh my gosh. What do I wish my 20-year-old self knew? I think I wish my 20-year-old self was a little more open to hearing the advice from others. I think, you mentioned I'm a bit of a contrarian at times. I think my 20-year-old self probably took that a little too far, and I probably could have done a better job at listening.
Oh, come on, Wade. You also know those angles give you beautiful spots in the press, which helps drive growth. It helps be contrarian.
Yeah, I think so. But there are certainly best practices have become best practice for a reason. If you approach things with sort of a first principles sort of thinking mentality and break things down a bit, try and understand the root cause, which best practices are there for a reason. And then which ones are kind of just BS and they exist to, serve some other purposes. Chesterton's fence is one of my favorite logical things.
Wait, what's this called? I haven't heard of this.
Chesterton's fence. It's just a good way to think about decision making. So I think some U.S. policymaker introduced this concept, and it's if you move into a neighborhood and there exists a fence that you don't like, an ugly fence, and you want to take it down, before you take it down, you should figure out why the fence exists in the first place. If you understand the reasons for why the fence existed in the first place, then feel free to go take it down. But if you don't understand yet, you should probably not take it down quite yet. And so I think it's a really powerful way to think about decision making is if you're proposing something, if you're proposing to stop do something, you really should understand the reasoning behind it first. And once you do, feel free to make you can draw whatever conclusions you want from that and go whatever direction you think, contrarian or not. But until you reach that point, you might want to reserve judgment.
Adding on to that, just as I'm on the Wikipedia article now, research the fence's history first. You may find out why it was created and perhaps understand that it still serves a purpose. And if you believe the issue it addressed is no longer valid, frame your argument for deletion in a way that acknowledges that.
Yep.
I love that. Very cool. We'll link to that in the show notes. All right, guys, there you have it. Again, Wade, Zapier passed 100,000 customers, $50 million in ARR back in September 2018. They've doubled the ARPU over the past 18 to 24 months, up to about $40 per customer. Profitable, 200 people now, all fully remote, still less than 5% logo churn as he looks and doubles down on how to go from 100,000 customers to 200,000 customers, less than $1 million raised. Wade, thanks for taking us to the top.
Yeah, thanks, Nathan.